On this week's episode of Circles Off, it's a continuation of last week's episode. More Q&A. You had a ton of questions via Twitter, via YouTube. We're going to dive into all of them and more. This week's Circles Off starts now.
Come on, let's go!
Welcome to Circles Off, episode number 97, here on the Circles Off YouTube channel, available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. Part of the Hammer Betting Network. Rob Pizzola, Johnny from Betstamp. Number 97.
Episode 97. Don't need to get into it. Connor McDavid, one of the best hockey players of the generation. Hasn't even been started yet. Hasn't even got started yet. Hasn't even won a cup yet. Maybe this year. Probably not. Leafs are winning the cup. Anyways, moving on. Last week, we had a question and answer episode. We got through about half the questions. We are back this week to answer the rest. We are going to get right into it after a word from our sponsor.
Of course, if you're going to be betting on sports, Pinnacle is the world's sharpest sportsbook, now available to bettors in Ontario. Find out what professional bettors have known for decades. Pinnacle is where the best bettors play. You must be 19 plus. Not available in the U.S. And of course, as always, we preach it every single episode. Please, please, please play responsibly. Let's get into it.
Question number 1. The old guessing game. Rob, how many just pro gamblers are there in the United States and Canada? Only source of income is gambling. No pick selling or anything of that sort. Over or under 500? And before you answer that, second question. How many legitimate professional bettors would you estimate there are in North America? How many have social media? Sorry, Europe. No one cares about you since you have weird odds anyways. So we'll sum those into one question, which is basically how many pro bettors are there?
I've tried to enlist the help of ChatGPT.
And?
There's no reliable way to determine the exact number of professional bettors in North America. Okay, someone asked about 500, definitely over.
Well, here's the thing. What do you consider a professional bettor? He says here, only source of income is gambling.
Only source?
And also, how long do you have to sustain that? Because that's another thing. If you told me how many professional bettors are going to have their only source of gambling, only source of income be gambling this year in 2023, then the answer is definitely over 500. However, if you're going to tell me like how many of those people are going to have a over 10 years sustain, that answer is significantly lower.
Agreed with both points. I don't know, but like here's the I don't make 100% of my income from sports betting. Does that I'm no longer considered a professional bettor?
That's another thing. Only source of income is gambling is tough because like then what if you have I
do content where I get paid, not with the Hammer, but with other companies.
$5 at radio spots. Does that count now? You're out.
You know, I do stuff where I get paid because I mean my time is valuable. Like let's call it out for what it is. You know,
you also enjoy doing that stuff too.
I love it, man. I love doing content. I do. That's why we do this show.
So okay, here's what I'll say then. There's way more people than 500 that make money gambling. And of those, I think if you're going to say how many just make money gambling, it's still over 500, be it under 10,000 to give some context there. Not that that's that helpful of a range, but I'd say, if you're going to then say though, how many people are going to have like a 10-year career where they can make money betting over 10 years, then the number is significantly lower, probably around 3,300.
I think it's even higher. I honestly do. It's not that hard. Now,
now people on the thing are like, well, look at these guys.
No. Sorry. Listen, scaling is hard, right? And I think there's like a lot of people too who will just like leave their job because they have a significant edge and they'll earn and then they'll realize, oh, I can't earn as much anymore because I'm cut off from all these places and I have to and it becomes. But there's enough people that are doing it and can do it in a limited time that I think the number is always going to be higher than that, personally. I mean, I don't know if I ever told you this story. Guy literally lives down the street from me who I thought was working in fire sales. He used to tell people, I'm over at his place. Like, fire sales? Like, what, did you sell smoke alarms or whatever? This guy knows who I am, and he's like, Rob, come here. Go into his office, like 6 monitors set up, Don Best, whatever. He's like, this is what I got to tell people because, you know, they don't want, like, they exist everywhere. People exist. There's bettors everywhere that are doing well for themselves.
Agreed. There's a lot.
And it's a state. It happens because like even if 1% of bettors win, and even let's say 1% of those bettors can do it professionally, that's still way more than 500.
Of course. And by the way, I wasn't including like Europe or anything like that.
We don't include Europe because they're decimal odds.
Decimal odds. Well, technically Canada, I think some people think is decimal odds.
Well, I mean,
definitely not.
It's most certainly not.
Certainly it is not. But any of those, any sports books that launched in the Ontario market and put the default as decimal odds, what are you doing? Like, it's not decimal odds. We don't play decimal odds.
Also, I will say though, I take offense to it being called American odds.
North American odds. Yeah. I mean, like, pet peeve of mine, obviously, if you're going to enter a market, like, try to understand the bettors that are in that market. Like, the nuisance. The primary way to bet NHL is not the regulation 3-way money line.
No, I know exactly which book you're talking about. I won't mention by name, but like, just understand like the market. It's like a prerequisite of entering a market is understanding the clientele and like what they're looking for. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to bet like live Swedish Elitserian hockey because I bet on the NHL. Like, you do not have to force feed me a live betting at every single point. Like, just show me what I'm going to bet or what's the most common bets.
Yeah, bet an over 6.5 NHL total. Game goes 3-3 into OT. You check, it's a loss. They didn't even specify. 60-minute regulation only. Like, what's going on? So there you go. No, I agreed on that. All right. Similar topic, fits right in here. What percentage of sports bettors win long-term versus what percentage of sports bettors think they are long-term winners? I'm sure you've heard plenty on it, but the Barry Horse Pod is exceptional. Keep up the great work, Rob. I'm such a big fan, and I hope to meet you one day.
I'm sure you just added that at the end.
I did just
I don't have that, so I don't know.
Yeah, I think that either came through YouTube or came through direct Twitter DMs.
I did add that at the end.
I mean, listen, if you want to meet me someday, it's not that hard. I'm around. I tell people where I'm going. I'll be at Bet Bash 3. It's a great opportunity to sit down and have a beer. Hopefully you're buying, though, not me. Depends on how the week goes.
Well, the guy
somebody asked, where are we eating at Bet Bash? So there you go. I guess we did answer his question.
Bro, that place what's the Asian restaurant?
Oh,
in Circa?
amazing. Something 8. It's phenomenal.
The brisket fried rice.
The brisket fried rice. Dude. Bet like Harut showed me that place.
Where?
What a spot.
Benson, I'll see you there.
That's at 8 East.
8 East?
8 East. What a spot. Also, because Circa, actually, you know what? No, Circa's got in-house food. You got to order the food from there. If you're at the book,
yeah,
order the food from there. We got you, Benson.
Who's the COO of VSiN? What's his name? Bill? I'm trying to remember what his name is. Bill 80. CEO. He's always hanging out with Derek Stevens at Circa. And what's the steakhouse? Barry's downstairs?
Barry's, great place as well.
So I mentioned last time I was in Vegas, I was there with Chernoff and a few other betting partners, just hanging around, played some rounds of golf. But we were going to Barry's one night, and Bill 80 overheard me, and he's like, "What are you going to order there?" I'm like, I don't know.
Seafood tower.
Get a steak or whatever. See, I'm a fan of seafood towers, as you know, and as I know of you. But he's like, listen, he's like, it's Bill 80, by the way, I'm pretty sure he lives in Circa. Like he lives in I'm serious. He lives in the hotel, right? I think. I don't know if I'm supposed to disclose that or whatever. It doesn't matter. He's like, trust me, it's going to sound really, really dumb, but you got to try the burger. He's like,
At Barry's.
At Barry's. He's like, I go here all the time. The burger is the best burger around. I'm a type of guy, judge me however you want. Going to a steakhouse and ordering a burger, I'm like a little bit embarrassed in doing so. But the burger at Barry's is phenomenal.
Okay.
Like, you should really, I know, and I'm sure, like, I'm not going
to get it still.
No, I know. The waiter's probably there. It's like, oh, yeah, fucking cheapskate, fucking burger or whatever. But, like, it's amazing. Anyways, Circa Resort. Check it out if you're in Vegas.
So maybe a Barry's Burger is where we're going. What percentage of bettors win long-term versus what percentage think they win long-term? So I would say it really drastically depends on what you consider to be long-term. And that is what I was getting into in the last question is winning over a 10-year span, 0.1%, less than 0.1%. Winning over a 1-year span is the variance alone. There will be a lot of people, a very high percentage of people that will win over a 1-year span just based on luck, even if they potentially don't have an edge. So if you're asking what percentage of sports bettors will win money over the next 3 years, I will say it's probably going to be 15 to 20% will win money over the next 3 years. That doesn't mean they're winning bettors, just means they will win. How many of those will win over a 10-year sample? Not very much.
I would agree with a lot of that.
So
pretty much right on. I'm more interested in the latter half of that question. Like, what percentage of people actually think that they win?
Yeah, probably like 40. Who bet?
Who was it that said?
You think it's over 40, Zach?
Yeah, probably.
I think I think more than 40% of people think that they win.
I know a lot of people who know they lose betting, and there's like,
okay,
I'm gonna hit one of these parlays eventually.
Sure, okay, but is it? Yes, there's definitely people like that they know that they lose and they're just trying to hit a big parlay or whatever. But there's also the people that are in denial. Like, they know that they're losing. They know that money's coming out of their bank account, but they think that like it's
bad luck.
It's just bad luck. It's all gonna it's been bad luck for the last 6.9 years for a lot of these people.
That's why I think it's way more than 40%. Like, literally just take a scroll through gambling Twitter and then tell me that percentage is still
I've got
40.
I've got a running joke here in the office. What we say is, if you ask somebody if they're up or down betting, you always got to ask lifetime, right? So you say, so let's say someone talks about betting, they're like, yeah, I have this way, I win, whatever. If you ask them, are you up or down lifetime? They're either going to say one of two things. They are going to say, I'm up lifetime, which may or may not be accurate. Or they will say, lifetime, I'm about even.
break even.
I'm about break even lifetime.
Yeah.
And if they say they're about break even lifetime, you best believe they're down lifetime.
Oh yeah.
There is absolutely no way they're up lifetime if they say they're break even lifetime.
If you don't know if you're up lifetime, it's a dead giveaway that you don't know.
Yeah,
like, you don't know about like
There's
anything.
I think one time in my life I've asked that to someone and they told me they were down lifetime, and the way that in which they said it was amazing. Like, it was at a Raps game and just sitting beside another guy. We ended up, just by chance, we had the same bet. It was like the under for the game or something, and because we had the same bet, he had it like 2 points worse. So we were sweating it out hard, but I had the extra 2 points, and it came down to a free throw at the end. Buddy missed his free throw, so my bet was already good, but that was to cash his. He was going nuts. He gets up, starts yelling like, $500, let's go. Like, he won, whatever. And he's like, I hit 500, like, check on my account. He's showing me his account. He was up to like maybe 3,000 or 4,000. He had just hit a parlay the day before. He was showing me too. He had a 4Xer. And he's like, I figured it out now. I know how to beat NBA. You got to do this, this, and this. He's like telling me what to do, all this stuff. And then I'm like, hey, are you up or down? Like, lifetime? Are you up or down? And he's like, lifetime? Lifetime, everyone's down, bro. That's what he said to me. And I never respected a guy at a Raps game beside me more than that.
But you notice how he lumped other people in with him, though.
Yeah.
No,
He
but
didn't say
he's right, though. He's right.
I mean, for the most part, he is right.
I had someone on this weekend for the first time ever tell me that they were down all time losing. But it's someone
Rare. It's a rarity.
Yeah, and it was like the most honest answer. And
Lifetime,
there's someone
everybody's
I know is winning now. You guys know them too, but they were like, "Yep, down lifetime, not good." And I was like, "No way,
down bad lifetime, buddy."
But to Zach's point, if you just scroll through gambling Twitter, like, it's actually a little bit different. I'll hesitate there, because gambling Twitter has like an element of people are promoting themselves in a lot of places. They trying to monetize their brands, whatever. I get it. What percentage of the people that think that they win on gambling Twitter, or tell people that they win, they're doing the money bags and check marks and what, up 35 units or whatever, actually like are self-aware enough to know that they don't? That's what I'm fascinated Like, this needs to be like some sort of Netflix documentary where they follow these bettors around. I don't really know the answer to that. Like, do a lot of people know that they're scamming, or do they believe what they're preaching? What's the majority?
That's a good question. Well, I would say this too, like to Rob's point, the loudest people on gambling Twitter are the people who win the most and the people who lose the most. And to both people on gambling Twitter, at least, they both win. Publicly. Make it like they win. You know what I mean?
I completely get it. Listen, I'm not saying people can't promote themselves or shouldn't promote themselves or whatever. But it's very obvious that the vast majority of people don't win. Yet if you were to just, from the outside looking in, go into gambling Twitter, you would think the complete opposite based off of the recaps and whatever. It's a very interesting space. I think more people actually believe that they win than like know that they're scamming.
I agree with that too.
It's really hard for you to admit. This is going to come across so poorly. It's really hard for you to admit that you're a loser. It is. I had to admit that to myself at some point. It took many years of giving away envelopes of money to just say, like, Rob, what the hell are you doing? Like, the envelopes are not coming to you. You know, it's
You're like, you are going to lose if you keep doing this.
Thursday's payday. I gotta pay. Friday, I get the money. It's like, you know, there's a lot more Thursdays that I'm meeting up than Fridays. Like, I need to, but it took a long time to come to that realization. And I think that's common. I really do.
All right. Up next, question from Ben Carey, a friend of the show. What sport will be more popular to watch and bet on in 3 years? Pickleball, slam ball, volleyball.
Okay. I don't even know what slam ball is.
It's a trampoline basketball.
Okay. So I'm going to say it won't be volleyball because volleyball's been around for a long time. And no offense, listen, if you're, I play volleyball too.
Add in World Putting League to this. Is that number one?
It might be. We're taking World Putting League to the top. We are taking World Putting League. April 20th, I'm going to show these jabronis on tour how you putt in Myrtle Beach.
Have we announced it yet?
At the Hawaiian Rumble, I'm coming to play. I'm going to get smoked.
Is this the first announcement?
Johnny, I haven't.
Have we announced this publicly on the Hammer yet? Did I miss it or is it out?
It's knowledge. It's out there. It's out
Rob
there.
is
no, there's
going to be
rumors,
competing in the Myrtle Beach
I don't even know.
Mini Putt Open in front of the people of the World Putting League. He's going to be in the field. Rob will be competing for the prize money and for good news for the listeners of Circles Off.
Well, Betfred will be listing odds as the official sponsor.
Will be listing odds, and we are working on getting odds listed from a majority or a few other books that we can cover the majority of regions, meaning wherever you are located, we are hoping that you will be able to play and support or fade, which I would highly recommend.
I cannot
Rob
wait.
Pizzola.
I cannot wait to close as an underdog in all these markets.
Are you going to get smashed? The other guys are going to get hammered.
First and foremost, anyone who's concerned about integrity, you don't know how badly I want to win at something like this. So like that's never going to. I'm sure there's going to be questions. Oh, like Rob, we're going to throw the events. It's like no, it's not. Jeff Feinberg is joining me out there, fellow Hammer creator. I love Jeff. I've known him for a long time. We're going to have a blast. Hopefully there's some head-to-heads that will make for some interesting stuff as well. We talked on a Circles Off episode about the World Putting League. Didn't I get some emails from guys in the World Putting League that are like, you guys are out to lunch? He's like, yeah, okay, we're not the best putters in the world. We know these courses like the back of our hands, basically. And on top of that,
Rob, there's a guy who putts with his shoe.
I'm going to be...
Are you going to be a dog to that guy?
I'm going to close as an underdog to that guy. I'm going to close as an underdog.
He putts with his shoe.
Listen.
He's a metal plate on his shoe, and he putts with his foot.
I'm trying to temper expectations here. But listen,
what I was sandbagging. Everyone, back Pizzola.
What I was told was that a lot of the putts, as they appear on the broadcast, are actually way harder than they look. Like the Hawaiian Rumble course was rejigged for the events that were happening there. And you'll sometimes see like a 3 or 4 foot putt and someone will miss it. and you were, I'm doing a live watch along. I'm like, oh, Tony Varnador. I'm like, Tony. And I'm getting messages like, that's actually like, there's actually break on that putt. Like he should hit it.
And that's what I would say too if I was missing those putts.
He should hit it for sure, but there's actually break on those putts. So I don't know what to expect. These people fly out early for these events. They play the course. Like, am I going to compete with that? I don't know. But I'm looking to make the cut. That's what I'm looking to do.
What I really hope happens is, and I'm not rooting against you in any way, but I really hope that one of two things happen. I hope either Pizzola is actually in it and he's like competing in the bracket and we have an actual sweat and he like wins some of his matchups, or I hope he goes dead last by like 23 strokes and he's just struggling to finish the course. Either one of those would make for great content. I'll be doing a live stream during the event. We're going to get some other creators on as well to do an amazing live stream. But this should be a lot of fun. But yeah, I truly hope I would prefer that you win it, and that would be just unbelievable. But if not, I would prefer you're just like so far behind that it's just hilarious to watch.
So for anybody who wants to go and see what the last one looked like, or they're curious to maybe handicap some of this, look at the other players, if you Google World Putting League, then some of the top YouTube results are the Hammer Betting Network stream. So you can see Rob commentating and roasting some of these guys as they competed on the last track. You can also go over to the Hammer HQ YouTube channel in the live watch along section. You'll be able to see the World Putting League. There's 2 different videos there. So one is day 1, one is day 2, obviously. But that's a good way for you to prep for that if that's something you want to do.
This is like, I went into that watch along like I'm not going to try to roast these guys too hard. Like they're putters, they take this seriously, and I didn't. But like there was a few comments that I made that like karma is going to catch up to me. I consider myself to be a fairly good putter, but it's different. Like I will explain. It's like if you've golfed with me, you both golfed with me. I can putt.
Golf with Rob multiple times. He's not bad. He's not good. He's there.
Yes, but like I can put a ball down I can read a putt. I can put a ball down on a line, and I can hit the ball on that line.
You're no Nate Dogg.
Don't get me started on Nate Dogg. No one will get this references. Nate Dogg, if you're listening, may God have mercy on your soul. Like if you are in a 4-man scramble and you're the first putter every time, you cannot leave every putt like 6 feet short. You cannot do this. You have to give the read to the other people. It is the rule of the scramble. The guy who's going first, even if you're a shit putter, you just got to give everyone else the read. You cannot leave every putt short. How, my God, Nate Dogg, how is that even possible? How every hole you can complain, oh, the green, they're not running as fast. Hit the ball harder on the next hole. Hit the ball harder. Sorry, went off on a tangent there.
Nate.
It's different when you're playing mini golf, mini putt, and you're using a ball where there's no, you can't line it up. There's no markers on the ball. This is a different thing for me. Like listen, I know it sounds like I'm making excuses. I'm not trying to make excuses as I'm watching video of this guy kicking the ball into the hole. I mean, that was pretty straight.
What are the odds Rob makes the cut?
I don't know.
What do you think it's going to be?
So
what would you price yourself at to make the cut?
There's actually 3 cuts. So it's all in one day. There's the first round. I believe there's 39 golfers, and the field gets weeded down to like 30. So I think the first 9 get cut because you're playing in threesomes.
Will Rob be in the first 9 cut?
I would say that's probably even money. Personally. By the way, here's the email that Joey Graybeal sent me. Okay. Sorry, Joey, for violating your trust and reading this on air. Basically, thank you very much for doing the broadcast. Most players will arrive 3 to 5 days before the tournaments. Olivia usually arrives 2 to 3 weeks before to practice. Olivia is the best player on tour. She's the favorite in all these events. So she's arriving earlier. Makes it very hard to beat her. This is my favorite sentence. Your buddy on the podcast saying he will make the cut without practice has lost his mind. Literal sentence. If he can putt, he would need a lot of time getting the speed right. And even then, I really doubt he makes the cut. These guys are really good, and there were numerous great players that are not even here because they just took a certain number of players for this tournament. I'd love to see you guys on the course so you and I, he's lumped me in on his team, by the way, can take your buddy's money. This is what he said. Keep up the great work. We're going to get Johnny out to one of these events. But this guy took a liking to me because he's got a claw grip thing. I was calling him the Claw on the broadcast, and he's a big fan. But I did love that he said you've lost your mind.
Like, listen.
So that's self-confidence.
You know what? I will give an honest assessment when I'm back. You'll see it. You'll see it live of whether or not I think I could. You bring me to putting edge, glow in the dark down the street where I know the course. I'll tear it up.
Okay, how about this? When Pizzola comes back, we'll do a head-to-head, me versus him at putting edge.
Yeah.
If he makes the cut and I beat him at putting edge, then it was safe to say I would have made the cut.
Yes. Agreed.
Done deal.
Listen,
I'm not playing the course.
It's the transitive property. It's not really like it's, but we'll let that happen. We'll let that happen. We'll assume that that's like a fair.
Ben Carey, to answer your question, we're gonna go pickleball.
Like I would say probably pickleball. Pickleball is gaining steam, right?
Yeah, of course.
Volleyball.
The other two are not that big appeal.
LeBron has a team. Kevin Durant has a team.
Yeah.
Volleyball's
been around for like 20 years. And again, apologies to the volleyball players out there, but like if it hasn't picked up steam yet, it's probably not happening for volleyball.
No good.
All
right. Are there any signals to help figure out when a market is being manipulated and the line movement is bogus?
Signals. So I would say that you can it doesn't happen very much anymore. Like almost, at least in the sports that I bet, almost never. Partly because so many people bet on screen nowadays. So what I say that is like Pinnacle, for example, somebody goes and tries to fake the line. This means that they're trying to move the line in the opposite direction of what they want to bet, so that everybody else who's just copying Pinnacle's lines are going to move as well. And this applies to other sportsbooks as well. Circa, obviously, BetCris, Offshore. But with the goal that they place a smaller bet, move the entire market, and then crush the other side for a lot of money. And this used to happen a lot, but there's just people out there. There's like so many people betting on screen now that people just pick off the prices right away. Like it's hard to fake the market and have it last for as long as you need for all the other outs to move and for you to hit it back the other way. I'm not saying it never happens, but it just doesn't happen anywhere close to the way it used to. Typically, people that are in tune with the market and watching it every day would very much be able to figure this out because they tend to happen at the same times regularly. I mean, we used to have these discussions all the time with hockey bets. It's like, we're going to fake the market at this time because no one's paying attention. Okay, try it. It works for a while. After a month, someone figures it out and they just start hitting back all the plays. So I would say that there's no telltale signal other than just like being intuitive.
Like one thing that you could look for, I guess, to provide something quantifiable is like when the limits are lowest is when it's most likely. And then when the limits are higher, it's going to be less likely. So you can probably, what you should do is take a look at when the limits at Pinnacle or the other sports books are going to go up. And if you can identify that the limits go up around 10 o'clock, then you could best believe that the manipulation will likely happen before 10 o'clock.
Yep.
All right. So that's it. That's it for that one. I'm not sure it was the best answer, but what do you think there?
Well, no, that's the case. It's different. The market is different, right? 5 years ago, when we were betting like hockey in the mornings, you move a number and it's stuck around for half an hour, and you can bet all the off-screen outs, and then pound Pinnacle back the other way. It just doesn't happen anymore. Like nobody wants to waste money faking a line if somebody's just going to hit it back right away. So, I mean, if you're looking out for it, every line move, you'll just notice it. Like, honestly, if you're just watching the screen, if you got spank odds up in front of you or whatever, you're watching the screen on a daily basis, you see big moves, mark down the time, see if they get hit back the other way. They're probably all like legit moves nowadays.
Fair enough. Hey, fellas, CLV question. Hypothetical situation. If you were able to, let's say, bet an NBA team at Pick'em and the game closed -2.5, how likely am I to turn a profit doing that over and over? How confident are you in the amount of value guaranteeing long-term dollars? So a little bit of a weird question here, but this one you could very easily quantify in this situation. So what you would do is you would take the pick'em, which is a money line price, and what you would do is you would then take that money line price and compare it against what the closing money line price is, which is the 2.5 converted to money line. So you can also just check the money line. You don't even have to do calculations in this scenario. If you wanted to do calculations of like pick 'em to 2.5, how much is that worth? There's a lot of things that get factored into that, but you could potentially use the unabated price comparison tool that they've got that actually shows the difference in value there. Could also use the CLV calculator on Betstamp as well. You can track your bet at pick 'em when it closes 2.5. You can see how much CLV you have there. But what you're going to want to do in terms of confidence in how much you're going to guarantee long-term money, I would say this. A, if you do this over and over again, you will make money with a little variance in a large enough sample size. B, what you would do here is you take the money line price that you got. So let's say you got minus 110. Let's say the game closed and you take the Pinnacle closing odds and it closed minus 150 plus 135. You would take the midpoint of that, and it's just hypothetical, obviously. Let's say the midpoint's minus 144, and then you would convert minus 144 to an actual win probability. Then you would stack that up against your minus 110. So what you've done is you've stripped out the juice and the VIG from Pinnacle, converted that to a win probability.
Yep.
For the simplicity of this, let's say it's 60%. And then you've got your minus 110, which let's say for the simplicity of this would imply, 54%. Then your expected edge there is going to be, well, it's not quite this. You can use an edge calculator, but it's going to be 1/1 minus the difference of that.
Yes. I'm not going to add anything to that. Well said.
So you would basically have a few percentage points every time. And if you ended up making $100 bet on that, roughly on this, you're going to earn a couple percentage points. I'd have to actually calculate the math. Maybe we can actually link it in the show notes. I'll do it for everyone. But calculate the show notes, have that there. You're making $2 for every $100, let's say. As you start to grow that and, start to see this like compound every single day on every single game, then you have 100 down, then 200, 300, 400 per game. And then as you start to actually grow that, that is how you can sustainably build something that works for sports betting. And how confident am I in this? Extremely confident. I've done this. Multiple people have done this that I know. It works. It wins money. And vice versa. If you're on the other end of this, then exact same thing is going to happen. If you continually lay minus 2.5 and the game closes pick 'em, then you're not just going to lose your 2% because there's the VIG involved as well that you're paid, but you are going to then lose that same rough percentage. And in theory, if this is the closing line value, this is basically what closing line value is. But in theory, if you actually just take this whole scenario and map it out with a minus 7.5 to a minus 5.5 for a spread, it's the exact same thing. You just have to figure out your percentages. And overall, in the long run, you will win if you do this.
You didn't talk about how the public bet percentages figure into this, though.
It does. I did not talk about that right now.
Like, what if 90% of the public is on the game that's pick 'em but closes minus 2.5?
This is a podcast. This will have a lot of like few. I don't want people to listen to these in 3 years and then this doesn't work anymore. So I will put this disclaimer in. As of right now, you will win doing this.
As of the time of recording.
As of the time of recording, and as per anything you would have done in the past 10 years betting, you will win if you get this.
It's true.
Over a long
market
enough
evolves,
sample size.
so you never know. Could just be some horse that, some whale that comes in. I don't know why I said horse. It's because Barry Horse is our last episode or a couple episodes ago. Whale comes in the market, just has so much, like infinite amount of money that the sports books have to move off the action regardless because of liability reasons. You never know.
You never know. Okay, up next. Tips for keeping accounts from getting limited or kicked off while still balancing what we want to get down on some very badly priced props in one specific market. Great chance here. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking here is this. I will give out one piece of real advice, and that is it. The one piece of real advice is this. If you see a clear mistake line at the sportsbook, it is in your best interest to not play that. And the reason why it's in your best interest to not play that is because it is going to be very obvious to the sportsbook who played that. Think about it if you were running a sportsbook and you accidentally put you put Vlad Guerrero to hit a homer, and instead of putting him at plus 400, you put him at plus 4,000. That is very clear as day that is a mistake. They are highly likely to go in and take a look at all of the accounts of the players who bet that and be like, hey, this person took advantage of this. I would highly recommend you don't do that. That is the one piece of advice I will give on this. The second thing that we would like to give out today is if you are getting limited on a sportsbook, you're going to take that money, you're going to withdraw it, and you're going to deposit it at Pinnacle Sports, the world's sharpest sportsbook that doesn't limit any players.
Period.
They
even tell you how much you can bet on the games. Believe that. Believe that there's a sportsbook that tells you what you can bet on the games before you bet it, doesn't give you a spinning wheel and then change the numbers on you or come back to you and say, you can bet $2.63, but we have to refer the rest of your bet to this trader over here. Which, by the way, when that happens, I refer to trader every time out of spite.
Just to make them do work. And you know they're not going to take it.
I'll place 200 bets over the course of that 15 minutes on stuff that I don't even have an edge on, just so that trader has to reject the remainder of the bet. And they will anyways, too, which is the saddest thing. Use Pinnacle if you're in Ontario, 100%.
Super random
One second.
question.
I just want to add to one thing you're saying. I'm going to give like a high-level piece of advice really quickly on the limiting thing. I think what you said right at the end there is just the best. I cannot speak to how every individual sportsbook runs their trading operation. I've consulted for sportsbooks. Granted.
Well, have you consulted for some sportsbooks in the past, by the way?
I've got to make it clear to new people who are watching.
Sorry, just confirming.
Believe me, I don't want to say that every single time. But people are like, oh, what makes you qualified?
Philly Godfather hired the detective to figure that out.
Of course. I just want to make it clear to people that they're always like, oh, why are you qualified to say what's okay? Well, I mean, I've been in trading rooms for Super Bowls before. I see how things are run. I have some general idea. Not every sportsbook on the planet's run in the exact same way. We all know that. But from a pure logic perspective, if you're trying to have your account last at a sportsbook, put yourself in the shoes of if you were a trader. Most traders have some experience in the space. Not everyone. There might be some junior traders who are still learning the ropes or whatever, but most traders at sportsbooks have some experience. They have some way of identifying what kind of accounts are going to win in the long run. Think about it from the opposite point of view. If you were tasked with finding winning bettors and limiting them, what things would you look for? What's the sign of a sharp bettor? Not that hard to do. Are some things going to work? Yes. Are some things going to work at one book and not the other? Yes. Are some things not going to work? Of course. But just put yourself in the mindset of the person who's doing the limiting and just work backwards. Best thing I could say.
Fair enough. Up next, quick one here. What is the sharpest book for League of Legends? What sort of limits are they taking? I don't know too much about esports. I know Rob doesn't as well. We know Pinnacle had graduated their esports department. We had Matt Trenhale on the podcast. He used to manage esports. And I do think that Pinnacle is quite sharp overall. I would say that they are the sharpest for esports, especially within the Ontario market here and within Canada.
And Marco Bloom's no longer with the company, but he had a pretty significant impact on esports betting for Pinnacle. So I would agree with you. It's not because they're a sponsor of the show or anything like that. Generally speaking, they were very quick to market, and especially during COVID, we're taking very high limits on esports. That's the book I would say.
Okay. Up next, I don't even know if we need to answer this one. What is the public side tax exactly? Keep hearing people say this. Is it an actual thing?
So, by the way, I want to say this.
It's sort of like seems like it makes sense, which is why a lot of people say it.
There's not a lot of people that's sorry. Whoever asked this question, I'm sorry to call you out.
He's looking to learn. He's not looking to say that it's a real thing.
Sure, but if you actually look up public sides tax in quotations on Twitter, it's been said one time, and it was by Plus EV Analytics, and it was the day before this question got brought into us.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's literally not everybody is saying it. It was in reference to one thing that Plus EV Analytics said, which was the national championship game between UConn and San Diego State. He said,
if you take UConn, you're paying a public tax.
If you play UConn at a recreational book, you're paying public sides tax. And all that means is that the price at those books is steeper on UConn because the majority of bettors at that book are betting UConn. As we saw, it doesn't matter in a given game. One of the best examples of, square side versus sharp side or whatever, like people get so, fat. People galaxy brain themselves into San Diego State just because, the books are going to need San Diego State. It's like, who cares? Who cares? You know what books hold on straight wagers? It's not a ton. They hold a lot on parlays and teasers and same game parlays and stuff like that. Like, stop caring about what other people bet. Anyways, that's the public sides tax. It's just recreational book leaning towards one side because the majority of their player base is betting there. And guess what? Who's playing at recreational books? People who are generally not price sensitive for the most part. And that's why it goes like that.
All right. This one comes from another friend of the show, Jeff Benson at Twitter. Jeffrey Benson 12, aka Jeff, aka Circa Sports Director of Operations. If you were running a sports book, what would your model be? Sharp, soft, combo, and why?
Okay, I'm going to reference an offshore sportsbook here. I'm not promoting them. I don't suggest that you bet offshore if you can bet into regulated options. But in my opinion, there's no one in the regulated market that is the equivalent of BetOnline in the offshore space. And when I say the equivalent of BetOnline, I mean a book that does a good job of catering both to recreational bettors and to sharper bettors. They do not have the highest limits in the world. They do not have the limits of a Circa, a Pinnacle, BetCris, whatever, but they take a decent pop on a lot of stuff. And they tend to not limit you unless you pick off like a really horrible line, as you mentioned, which every sports book frowns on that in general. So if I was running a sports book in the regulated space, I'm not even joking, I would get a team of people together and say, let's replicate what BetOnline is doing in the regulated space. Because I think that type of sports book is going to appeal to the majority of bettors. Good props offering, you can still parlay, you can do everything you could do at a recreational book, and they still give you a decent enough bet that if you were a winning bettor, you would play there. And we do see that. We do see tons of winning bettors that play there. So
your answer is combo.
It's 100% combo. And, there's risks when you bet in the offshore space. And I'm not saying that this is going to happen, but there's no policing that goes on in the offshore world, right? Like, theoretically, I think it's extremely unlikely, but it's happened before, where sportsbooks just close down shop and see you later, your money's gone, and you're out of there. And you have no recourse for that. You have no appealing body. They just cancel one of your big winning bets and it disappears out of your account. You have no appealing body. So I don't want to promote an offshore sportsbook in terms of you going to play there. I would highly suggest you stick in the regulated market if you can. With that said, I think that's the best model. And we don't see it in the regulated space right now. And honestly, I think if someone one of the big players transitions to that model, it's a highly successful one that will succeed in the long run.
Fair enough. Personally, what I would do is probably, I don't even know. Honestly, I have no idea, because I don't know the specific ins and outs of like what it takes to run the Sharp model and how much you could actually earn on that and how many players would actually play there. So I truly think like I would need to actually look at like the back end data on a lot of these books and then make a decision off that. If I'm guessing right now, I tend to agree with Rob. I think the offering is super important. I definitely wouldn't want to, like we talked about with exchanges, like it's not feasible for a betting exchange currently to be your only sports book. And it's just not reasonable to even have that as one of like your two. to get a betting exchange in to fit it into your top, it would have to be like a top 5. It'd have to be more of a 4 or a 5. So when I'm looking at this, I'd probably lean more towards something with a bit of a deeper offering, where you could actually play a lot of like fun bets and stuff like that as well. On top of, just overall being like, I think my main thing would be I would want to be super fair. Like I would want to
100%.
Probably no bad bet refunds or anything like that, but you better believe like we are never doing like if I ever ended up doing that, which by the way, I got absolutely zero plans to ever run or operate a sportsbook, no interest in that, but I would be a very, very fair operator. Like you're never going to have a like stupid player complaint like we talked about.
Two-way lines, posted limits on things. Like these are things that are important. I'm answering this question without having like full visibility. We don't know what these books make. Sharp books, what they're holding specifically, so on and so forth. But for me, I think it's just like general basic economics. Like, let's try to appeal to as many different bettors as possible and capture the entire pie. Yeah. That's my personal opinion. Second thing I would say is I'm not going to give away an idea or whatever, but we're seeing books, quote unquote books, prize picks, those types of models that are just like prop parlays and stuff like that are starting to take off and get a lot of visibility in the space. Why? They appeal to the masses and they're different. I think kind of what's lacking in the space is the way that we think about a sports book. And in our heads, like as I'm answering this question, or even as Jeff asks it, like sharp, soft, combo, whatever, right? This is like all traditional. I think that there's room for like a very non-traditional type of sports book that like we don't have it in market yet, but something that might appeal to a younger demographic is more with the times than the traditional sports book view, right? Like this is just the model for what bettors you're catering to. But from a product perspective, I think there's room for a lot of innovation.
Interesting. I would agree, and I hope we see something like that.
Like the guy from Ireland. Remember that guy?
Oh yeah,
we the better.
Did you end up meeting up with him at all?
No, we didn't. When would I have met up with him?
Oh, I don't know. Ice, no?
Oh no, I did not. I did not. If you are looking to sign up for a new sportsbook, which we always recommend, Pinnacle is our preferred choice. We trust them. They're very fair. They're not going to limit you. They got posted limits. You need Pinnacle as one of your books. However, we do recommend playing at a majority of sports books if you can. If you're located anywhere in a regulated state and you're looking to sign up for a new sports book, please visit www.betstamp.app/circlesoff and sign up for a sports book through that link. It really helps support the show, keeps it free, keeps us doing extra episodes and things like that. And we really do appreciate the support. This has been episode 97 of Circles Off. We will see you all next week. And remember, don't talk about it, be about it.